Breaking news, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife arrive in New York. Our cameras capturing the moments he landed at Stewart Airport ahead of his federal court appearance. A massive military operation in Venezuela to capture the leader with explosions lighting up Caracas. President Trump announcing a tentative plan for the South American nation.
Going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Tonight, some are celebrating while others are protesting his comments and the strikes. What comes next here in New York and internationally? Good evening, I'm Alan Devlin. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Right now, Nicolás Maduro is at Stewart Airport in Orange County before he's expected to be moved to Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. A live look right now over the airport where Chopper 2 has been hovering over the area all afternoon, tracking the flight. We have team coverage tonight. Let's get in here with Alice Gaynor outside the detention center with the latest on this developing story. Alice, good evening.
Good evening. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro will be held here at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. This federal facility once housed detainees like Jeffrey Epstein, Sean Diddy Combs, before he was moved to another facility after sentencing, and currently Luigi Mangione is housed here. Though Maduro was first indicted by a federal grand jury in the U.S. in 2020, Maduro, his wife, and 4 others, including his son, were named in a superseding indictment unsealed today. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife will appear in federal court in New York to face various drug and weapons charges like narco-terrorism conspiracy and possession of machine guns.
The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States.
Since 2020, Maduro has been a wanted man in the U.S. with a $50 million reward for information leading to his capture.
Nicolás Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't.
President Trump says his capture was carried out by the military's elite Delta Force. The U.S. operation included airstrikes and comes after a pressure campaign, including at least 30 strikes on alleged drug boats, a blockade the U.S. ordered after seizing oil tankers, and U.S. stealth fighter jets flying daily missions from Puerto Rico. There's been a large buildup of military in the Caribbean.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Mr. Trump also said the U.S. would tap oil reserves to sell to other nations. Venezuela's vice president is demanding the U.S. free Maduro, calling him the rightful leader. People gathered in the streets of Caracas after the capture, cheering. This man expressed fear. Many feel uncertain. And there are legal questions mounting. Congress was not notified before the attack. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says the Trump administration is not being straight with Americans. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez questioned if this was about drugs, why the president pardoned the Honduran president, who had been sentenced to 45 years in a U.S. prison for helping drug traffickers move cocaine through his country to the U.S.
I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
Meantime, Republican Congressman Mike Lawler posted on social media calling the arrest, quote, a new dawn and an important step towards ending the deadly flow of drugs into the U.S. and ensuring peace and prosperity for all Venezuelans. Maduro is not expected in a federal courtroom before Monday, but we are still awaiting exact confirmation on timing for that court appearance. The UN Security Council is planning an emergency meeting. Live at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, Alice Gaynor, CBS News, New York.
Alice, all eyes on Brooklyn soon enough. Thank you. Now, as we mentioned at the top of the newscast here, we're still waiting for Maduro and his wife to be transported from Stewart International Airport in Orange County. Dan Rice is live overhead in Chopper 2 with the latest here. Dan, you've been watching this one for the last several hours from Chopper 2.
That's right, Alan. We've been tracking the airplane as it left Guantanamo Bay, making its way to Stewart International Airport at around 4:30 this afternoon. That's 7:57 you see in the center of your picture. We watched it land. They brought it over to the military side of the airport, and they sat here for about an hour before they brought Maduro and his wife off of the airplane. They led them into this hangar over here. They were flanked by numerous agents from various agencies from the government. Then they went inside the hangar there. Now, from what we understand, They're going to be taking one of these helicopters down to New York City with the Venezuelan president and his wife. We did watch pilots working on the helicopter on the top of your picture there. So we'll keep an eye on all of that as this develops here by Stewart Airport. Reporting live in Chopper 2, Dan Rice, CBS News, New York.
All right, Dan, we'll touch base with you once again when that helicopter does take off. Thank you. Now let's head over to Andrew Ramos live on the west side where Maduro is expected to arrive by helicopter from Orange County right here to Manhattan. Andrew, what can you tell us?
That's right, Alan. Well, Venezuelan President Maduro and his wife Celia Flores expected to arrive by helicopter here at this heliport on the West Side Highway, along the West Side Highway, I should say, on the west side of Manhattan. Now, what we are expecting is an extraordinary show of force where they will be escorted by heavily guarded federal agents. Now, let me get out of the way to give you a good idea of what we are dealing with here. Currently, the media is separated from the heliport by the West Side Highway. The NYPD pushed us back, as well as members of the public who came out to catch a glimpse of the Venezuelan leader in anticipation of this landing. Now, in addition to officials with the FDNY and NYPD, a number of federal agencies also here on the ground at the 30th Street heliport. This is the first public sighting of this would be the first public sighting of the couple here in New York City since the U.S. carried out what they described as a large-scale strike in Venezuela early this morning, where they were both captured and now here in New York to face drug trafficking charges, among other charges, according to an indictment that was unsealed earlier today. Now, what we are told, the pair will at some point be taken to Drug Enforcement Administration offices in Manhattan, where they will be processed. So that means fingerprinting and mugshots. Now, once this happens, they are expected to be taken to the detention center in Brooklyn, where Alice Gaynor just reported live from. Now, the timeline on all this still remains unclear. When we start seeing movement and activity here along the West Side Highway, we, of course, will bring you that update. For now, we are live here on the West Side. Andrew Ramos, CBS News, New York.
Andrew, thank you. Mayor Mamdani is reacting to the stunning news out of Venezuela as well. During an unrelated event today, Mamdani revealed that he did talk to President Trump about what happened there.
I called the president and spoke with him directly to register my opposition to this act and to make clear that it was an opposition based on being opposed to a pursuit of regime change, to the violation of federal and international law, and a desire to see that be consistent each and every day.
Now, Mamdani was also asked whether he had any concerns regarding Maduro being held in Brooklyn. He said he's focused on the safety of the tens of thousands of Venezuelans living in the city and that his administration will work to limit the day-to-day impact of Maduro's stay on New Yorkers. Also here, dozens of people rallied this afternoon in Times Square. The protesters were calling for an end to the U.S. military action in Venezuela. Rallies like this one were held across the country, calling for an end to the bombings. Some of the demonstrators have relatives and ties to the country.
Hands off Venezuela! Hands off Venezuela!
It's infuriating and terrifying to see, like, your parents' home country attacked like that.
I cried this morning just thinking that it is very sad what's happening.
The Times Square rally was organized by the Answer Coalition, which is opposed to war and racism. And this has been an emotional day for Venezuelans living here in New York who are thinking about the future of their country. Kristie Keleshian heard from people in Queens who are expressing optimism.
Flags proudly waving at El Budare Cafe in Jackson Heights as patrons closely watch news coverage for updates on all of its TVs.
I don't know. This is no tengo palabras.
Alba Guerra telling us in Spanish she can't find the words to describe how she's feeling after she and fellow Venezuelans across the region hadn't slept since 3 a.m. That's when she says her family back home called her about the U.S. airstrikes and the capture of its president, Nicolás Maduro, and his wife Celia Flores on alleged narco-terrorism charges.
Crítica.
Guerra's uncle, Jose Rodriguez, is visiting her from Venezuela and describes to us in Spanish that conditions in his country under authoritarian rule are critical now, with low wages, rising costs of living, and violence keeping families from leaving their homes.
Oh, yeah, everybody's scared, but we have to celebrate now. Woo!
Marianela Morera left Venezuela for New York 30 years ago, saying Saturday morning's airstrike and Maduro's capture is the only way out of the country's current state. Those in Queens sharing the excitement.
Venezuela, en Venezuela.
And for some Venezuelans we heard from, this awakens their hope of possibly being able to visit family members back home they've been separated from for many years.
I want to go back to see my brother because he's my old brother, and I want to give a hug and kiss.
This woman, who didn't wish to give us her name, hasn't seen her family back home since 2018. She tells us her younger brother died 2 years ago and that she hasn't had a chance to grieve with her immediate family. But for now, for the first time, she says there's hope.
Mamita, papá, los extraño mucho.
Telling her family she misses them and that she'll be home soon. In Jackson Heights, Kristie Keleshian, CBS News, New York.
And you can see the reaction to what happened today solely depends on who you ask. Now, the largest Venezuelan population in the country is in South Florida, and the Venezuelan community has been jubilant since early in the morning when word got out that Nicolás Maduro was taken out of the country. Steve Majiri reports from our sister station in Miami.
This is a liberation day for the Venezuelan community down here, and these demonstrators have been out here since early in the morning. They tell me that what happened this morning was not an act of war, but an act of freedom. People have been singing, hugging, and dancing all day. They've been out here since before the sun came up, and there is a massive Venezuelan population here in Doral. They've been singing the Venezuelan national anthem and the U.S. national anthem and chanting freedom. There are people here with family down in Caracas, and they're hoping it will be safe to go see them soon. They tell me that U.S. intervention was the only way to get Maduro out of power after he rigged the election and seized power. Now the Venezuelans are looking forward and view this as a step towards stability in the South American country, and they're hoping that can turn it into a democracy.
We have generations in Venezuela that don't know what liberty is. They grew up under a communist, socialist, rule their entire lives. They're in their mid-20s. They're in the peak of their life. They've never, ever had a real shot at freedom. And this is just the beginning of it.
The demonstrators are also optimistic that the U.S. government's temporary control of the country and the bringing of oil companies down into the country to improve the infrastructure can improve the economy and the government. Demonstrators here tell me that this is the most free that they've felt in decades. In Doral, Steve Majiri, CBS News, New York.
It truly cannot be understated how historic of a day this is. Stay with CBS News New York. We will have continuing coverage throughout the night as we await the transportation of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife to Manhattan, then Brooklyn. Until then, we'll be right back. Back out here live real quick to Stewart International Airport, and you can see, timed out perfectly here, those helicopters are now on the move. We do believe Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife are on board, at least one of them. They are right now headed to the west side of Manhattan, where they will then be transported over to Brooklyn, to the detention center in Brooklyn. Andrew Ramos is awaiting at the helipad on the west side here, right near Hudson Yards, where they'll be landing. Chopper 2 is going to be following them en route here to Manhattan until they arrive. We will bring you continued coverage of this incident here as we get a zoom in on one of those helicopters. Again, 3 of them just taking off from Stewart International Airport. This is Orange County, upstate New York. As they make their way down into Manhattan, we will bring you updated information.